Hey there. Zane, cue that music. No, we don't have any music. Welcome to the Tao of Blau, episode 1.
Wow, man. Tao of Blau. What does Tao even mean?
Oh, the Tao, you know what the Tao is. The Tao is the path. Michi.
I thought it was those sunglasses you got on. They looking swaggy.
No, that's fire. That's
fire.
Not Tao. So welcome to the Tao of Blau, where we will dispense with hard-won wisdom accumulated through.
Ooh, this is all intentional.
Yeah,
because this is the first episode, bro.
Yeah, it's the first episode. Actually, I don't have anything planned with this. This entire thing is going to depend entirely upon synchronicity and and I don't give a fuck about anything really. So
that's Zen. That's like
that's
like
not
the
give
new
a fuck?
concept that I'm like trying to embrace.
I do not give a fuck. Man, seriously.
Not giving a fuck is being present.
Not giving.
You're not.
But that's not really true. I mean, you give a fuck about, for example, people. I mean, if you love the world or whatever, you give a fuck. I mean, but that's not what I mean when I say I don't give a fuck, actually.
Well, if you're in the state, if you're in the mind state of not giving a fuck, though, you're being present. You're just like not caring about anything. So
that's true.
But it could also mean that you're
any mind state, though. I think any mind state, you're actually. Yeah. The thing is, you're always present.
Cheers, my boy.
Try as hard as you want, motherfuckers. You can't not be you. That's the good news.
That's the good.
The bad news is that you don't know who you are.
I know you was just given like wisdom that I'm repeating wisdom that I've learned, but I think it's the only. You know what? I think it's the deep wisdom. I think it's the only wisdom. Mm-hmm. I think it's what everybody from Muhammad to Jesus and everybody, the rabbis that's the deep wisdom is what I'm talking about. Well, I feel like even the deep wisdom is already here, but it takes shape in different forms and it's based off of how you're perceiving. It's based off how you're perceiving everything, which is how you see how much of it.
It for sure. It has been discovered and rediscovered. This deep wisdom has been discovered and rediscovered constantly.
Right.
Constantly through civilizations by people that we call crazy or people that we call brilliant. And they try to express it in different ways. And it can be. If you view it through a certain lens, you might perceive it as schizophrenia. I mean,
because what is deep wisdom? I'm thinking because it's like even the average person that's just living life on airplane mode is still the deep wisdom. It's just.
Well, there's a difference between, I mean, do they have the wisdom or are they?
Might.
If they're on airplane mode. I mean, they're still a Buddha in whatever sense. I mean, if you want to get it down like that. I mean, I know they're being.
Okay.
I mean, their authentic self is in there too, and it's. But no, I don't think so. I think that's exactly the point. Is that it's so fucking hard to pass down that the only way that you can is in a small group of people that listen to your shit a lot. And that's why like Jesus would have disciples and they're like, yeah, that's the real shit. But when they tried to write it down,
because
it got all fucked up.
Anything.
Because people come up after, they're like, oh, well, this is what he meant. Who is that? Like, I don't know, in Christianity, it's like, I don't know, the 3 disciples, or like, who was that? Matthew, and I don't know. There were some weird people that were writing shit after Jesus got killed, People that came in and were like, no,
One thing with
like John or something?
Buddhism as well. People wrote down the Buddha's what he lectured into like what do you call them? Chants.
Do you think most Buddhists like you talk to Buddhist priests, you think they I mean, I've talked to Buddhist priests and they do it as a vocation. It's a job, Buddhist priests here in Japan, and it doesn't mean
blue.
It doesn't mean
baby.
It doesn't mean that they know the deep wisdom. You know, they could be
big facts.
They could be on airplane mode
too.
You know,
we are very easily tricked by illusions that are thrown in our way. And once you get certain keys that unlock new dimensions, these illusions dissipate, man.
Well, you know what the Buddha said about the, because there's I'm trying to remember the name in Buddhism for these, there's a word for these negative thoughts, right? That people confront internally. I can't remember the word for it. But what the Buddha said was that you have to, I think he says, invite them in for tea. Invite. So there's this, you know, destructive, force, manifested or embodied in this, in this God, and so he's out there and he's trying to fuck shit up constantly, and
that's how you are explaining him, is like how I like interact with the world is like with my body, and when you get that feeling of like restrictiveness in you, that is, the points you have to reflect on. Like those are the places you invite for tea. You know what I'm saying?
What places you with?
Those are the places that you invite for tea.
Right, where you feel the weakness. Is that what you said?
Where you feel restrictiveness.
Restrictiveness. What do you mean by restrictiveness?
Because when you are unlimited,
right,
then you are not restricted. Right.
So how do you push on those feelings of restrictive? What do you do when you feel that restrictiveness?
You interact with it.
You interact with that feeling?
Yeah, well, you
say, I understand that you feel that way? Or
you say,
man, you fucking all should be listening to this shit.
Well, it's saying like, you accept that it's here, and now it's like, okay, since we're here, we have to work together.
Right. So we're in this together. Yeah, you're part of me, and that's what Jung is talking about, embracing your shadow. But this is all touching upon this is all related to the one wisdom I'm talking about, but it's not the whole thing. But going back to what you were saying about this restrictiveness, that really is an important point, because and I can tell you because I've faced the abyss recently. Faced the abyss, the big black hole, and it's like some people will know what I'm talking about, and they're like, oh, that fucker's been there. And some people, they'll say, oh, he's had a bad day or whatever. Fuck that, man. I mean, the abyss is when you are in a swirling black pit that you feel like you can't get out of, and at that moment, what you feel like, getting back to what you said, is those restrictions. You feel like your possibilities have dwindled to zero. And the opposite of that is the realization that the entire, everything surrounding us that we can interact with is open to us, open to interaction, and you can interact with the tree, right next door. And if you can simply be interested in it as a thing, I mean, what does it mean to interact? Well, I mean, I'm not saying talk to the tree. I'm saying, show some interest in the tree. It's been alive for a while, and it's like it's growing in a weird place, or you know what I mean? Like, it's certainly
get friendly.
Yeah, get friendly with the tree or whatever, but the point is that the point is that
do trees have Instagram?
Trees? Oh, absolutely they do.
I bet they do.
You can go on Instagram right now and look, just type in tree, man. You'll get all sorts of shit, I guarantee. But the point about these feeling of possibilities is this, that in actuality, you do have, not infinite possibilities. You're not going to transport to Tahiti in an instant, but...
I have one that says Tree by Naked.
Tree by Naked. I think you should follow that, dude.
I should follow, yeah.
Because that's synchronicity.
Wow, they're a vegan and gluten-free fucking...
It's synchronicity, man.
Dogs are welcome, my boy.
It's synchronicity, and synchronicity has a part in this conversation, because...
Ooh.
Let me explain.
Explain, my G.
Ice and fire, man. Ice and fire.
Boop, boop, boop.
Right? Someone said to me, when you're in the abyss, there's two ways you can go down. You can go down into the... I don't think he's quite right, but he did make an interesting point.
All right, so that's Trees out here on Instagram.
Ice and fire. It has to do with... Right? Do you know about heat, Zane? What causes heat?
No. Can you please teach me and the audience?
It's very simple. It's molecules bouncing off of each other. So a change of state.
That's crazy.
Right? Something that's frozen to something that is, right, liquid, and then, solid, liquid, gas, right?
Uh-huh.
Plasma.
Ooh.
It's just adding heat to the equation so that the molecules bounce off each other more. And in gases, the molecules are dispersed, and solid, the molecules are tight because they're not moving. And people are like that too, and that's what I've learned, because when I'm depressed and I can't go out and I feel like my possibilities are zero, and this isn't just me, this is going to be a lot of motherfuckers if they ever get lucky enough to watch this.
Watch your language. We're going to upload this eventually. Beep. Yeah, there we go. We're already hiring interns, you feel me? Hey, we need editors.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I got an R18, and if you're under 18, you probably shouldn't watch me anyway. You should play baseball or something. But molecules bouncing off each other, and it's the same with human beings, because I was feeling like my possibilities are zero, and it caused me to shrink and not be interested in the world. And when you don't go out and have interactions with the world, nothing exists. Nothing exists until we interact with it. And that's quantum physics, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Quantum physics. Particles,
the new Bill Nye.
They pop up out of nowhere. Until they interact with each other, they don't even exist. Sorry, it's true.
Wild.
Look it up.
That's great.
But
how was your day today, bro?
It's been a struggle lately, man.
What's been bothering you, man?
It's like probably multi-layers. It's like hard to unpeel the layers, but I had a panic attack probably over a month ago now, and it was so bad. I had a vagal nerve reaction, I'm a widower, My wife died over a year ago, and it's pretty traumatic. It's very traumatic.
Definitely, if you never experienced it, you have no clue.
I have
no clue.
No, my wife died of cancer, and a lot of things changed in my life. A lot of identities disappeared because I had built my life with pretty much the only goal was to do better than my, parents raising kids, and I successfully did it, and like my kids are raised now.
Let's give them a round of applause.
And, and then take better care of your wife than your father did. And I did that, and then she died. I've fortunately been successful with my company, and so I'm not involved in translation the way I used to be either.
So I like it.
So I lost a lot of identities, and I lost a lot of friends, and I moved, and I'm in a foreign country. My kids have moved out mostly, and it caused a lot of self-reflection. And so I had this panic attack, which was this sudden feeling that I had no possibilities, which is totally untrue and ironic too, because I've never had more possibilities. I could do anything now. I have enough money to travel if I want to for the first time. I have enough time. I have enough freedom. It would be so much easier. But all of a sudden I find myself not knowing what I want to do, and that is why I'm panicking. I think, I don't have a goal, and it's shattering to have every single identity gone, and then it's shattering to, look at what's, look at yourself. Yeah, it's very hard to look at yourself if you've been, spending a lifetime, with like the 1950s, planned for,
That's a very very deep, layered, all of that.
Yeah, man. Sorry, I went on for a while, but I still haven't told the wisdom because it's only episode 1.
Oh, there's more wisdom to be
told.
Yeah,
man. I didn't tell the wisdom. Yeah.
I really like though the fact you talked about when you accomplish your goal. And you have nothing else to look forward to, no other goal. Like, you accomplished your life goal.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty deep. Life goal.
Actually, it wasn't.
You know,
to be fair, you know,
you got one life.
You know what though? It wasn't my life goal because I never thought I was advanced enough to have a life goal. It was I was in survival mode pretty much. I mean, honestly, I've tried to make companies before that worked, and it never worked before. But it was only because I was trying to feed my family. It wasn't my goal for myself in any way, and I never had, you know, a couple months rent more than that, and that's why I had to, you know, make some choices, like come over here and stuff, which was against my wife's desires, Japanese though she was.
That's wild. That's like.
But sorry, I never had those goals. I made those goals later, but again, I only did it for my wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I'm, you know, I think I'm more of less of a. I don't like to plan shit out particularly much, you know.
Neither do I. So
I like synchronicity a lot, you know, and I like being, because I don't think that, I don't know, maybe that's just programming too, you know, maybe, but I don't feel like, it's so funny, I was talking about Schwarzenegger, Mr. Make Plans and get them done. I mean, maybe I just never had
Terminator was fire as fuck, Arnold.
But you know what? It's the same reason I never studied in school either. Because if you don't study in school, you can't fail. Because you always have an excuse, man.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was pulling B's with never opening a book.
Right.
Never.
Wow.
You know? And I didn't particularly want to. Everyone knew I was smart, and I knew I was smart. So so I think that though the thing was I was only not making plans because I didn't like the idea of failing in the plans. So, you know.
That's so crazy. Your Japanese is so good. Now I understand that you just you must have put a lot of effort into
man, I can't believe how much effort I constantly surprise myself with how good my Japanese is, man. Sometimes I just like, I'm Japanese.
Yeah, that's fire. Because you're in the zone.
Yeah.
Zen shit.
Yeah.
You're just riding the wave.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she's like, damn, your Japanese is good.
Right.
And she doesn't say like, oh, Josie the thing. I don't get. Nobody ojozus me, man.
Yeah.
If they ojozus me, man, they're gonna get a fucking like shotgun blast of like Kansai Ben in their face. 何言ったお前。お前こそ日本語上手。誰を言ってると思う。お前誰様と思ってんの。I'm gonna be like, this guy, the other day, I was walking in Nagasaki-cho and I got my headphones on. Check it out. It was April 17th.
Okay.
Which is the date of my it was the anniversary of my wife's death.
Okay, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
A hard day. I was walking in Nagasaki-cho, I got my headphones in and I'm trying to be in a good mood.
Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker comes up from behind me on a bicycle and he says, oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't the anniversary of my wife's death. It was not.
Phew.
It wasn't. But
that
it was
looking scary, bro.
I was walking down
on a trip.
I don't know, man. I'm traumatized, man. I think every day is the anniversary of my wife's death. Anyway, this fucking guy, he comes by from behind on a bicycle and he mutters something. And I go from like nice, happy Japanese guy who, you know, into like West Islip, New York. Who the fuck are you talking to? You know? And I just went off on this guy, and we're standing toe to toe. He's on his bike, and I am in his fucking face. Yeah, and I'm like, "Omae wa ningen no kuzu yaro!" And he's like, "Omae wa atama okashi. Nande omae wo iu no?" I'm like, he's like, "Michi no manaka aruku na." I'm like, "Fuck you. Omae koso jitensha no akan no yaro." You know, I'm going back and forth. And anyway, pissed me off big time. There are assholes in Japan. But I'll tell you one thing. Oh, and I said to him in dirty Kansai, man, I said, "Dose," which is no translation in English. "Dose, you only stopped me." You know dose?
No.
Oh, dose is a great word. Dose omae wa ore Nihongo wakarehe to omotta kara konna koto shita. You would never have muttered under your breath driving past me with your words audible to me, unless you thought I couldn't speak Japanese. You wouldn't have dared. And you motherfucker, you picked the one guy who did understand you and can talk back to you, and on the wrong fucking day. And I just wish I don't wish I'd punched the dude, because I'd have gotten arrested, man.
Yeah.
But I was ready to level that fucking guy, and I knew exactly how I was going to do it.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Anyway,
yeah.
That's how long it takes your true self to come out. I don't know if that's my true self, but I was pissed, man.
That was your true self in a different form.
Yeah.
I feel that I get upset as well to that point, but it only comes out very rarely.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out rarely for me too.
I feel that I feel the repercussions of getting into that state. You know,
probably because you grew up as a black man in America. Probably, I don't know. I don't want to say nothing, but if I had to be a black man in America, I don't know what I would do, man. I can't. Seriously, man, I can't even conceive of it. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of like how we look at the Japanese, taking for granted how great their culture is.
How so? What you mean? What's what?
Like, for black people, we live it, so it's not so apparent to us. You're just kind of like going through it, like, you know, where something can be giving you pain, but you still interact with it.
Yeah, I think you're saying that it's the water that you grew up in, and so you don't even, like, fish don't know they're in water.
Right, exactly.
But once you're out of it, you know you were in it.
Right. And I felt that recently at Roppongi, and like.
Oh yeah, you were telling me some guy was.
Well,
in your face.
No, I guess he was in my face, but it was more of like, wow, like I used to go to clubs and then just look cool, you know, just stand there, you know, just kind of meme type of vibe. Well, I wouldn't do that, but like I would be around that, and so you have to be in the mindset that you might get into a fight. Like it's very possible. You know what I'm saying? It's just like if you're around.
Oh yeah.
So you're trying to party, but you're being aware that you might fight, and then you know if you're intoxicated, like it's like boom. That just is not good energy in your body. Like,
you know, that's one thing women don't fucking understand. Beep.
Yeah. I got some lost in there too.
Because of
cursive.
It's like you always hear, you know, and I don't want to come out sounding like I'm on the wrong side of this. I know it's tough for women, but sometimes I think women also need to understand that it's very tough for men as well, for exactly the same things that they complain about, which is this feeling of physical, you know, inferiority, for example. You think that doesn't exist? You think that you know, women will say, for example, I love this one. They say a bad date for, you know, a bad date for a man is being rejected, but a bad date for a woman is being killed, or something like this. You know, it's like, but it's like men grow up in, from their earliest childhood among other men, boys and men, who are bigger than them, and we're constantly under threat of physical violence. I mean, that's how I grew up. I was my I was my twin brother's protector, and I grew up in a neighborhood of mostly Italians and Irish too, working class, and a lot of them there were first or second generation from Brooklyn and Bronx and stuff like that, and they all thought they were like Goombas from what's that place in
Bronxdale?
Yeah, like those guys. They all thought they were that, and they were all like mini Goombas and stuff, and they were so anti-Semitic. It was ridiculous. So every day we got in fights, or physically threatened anyway. I mean, your books get dumped, you get pennies thrown at you, you get kicked, you get fucking punched all the time. Teachers punched you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. God. Back then, man, teachers punched you. Teachers, everybody, we were all getting hit. That didn't have anything to do. Well, actually, they didn't. My older brother and sister, I remember they had a math teacher who, was openly anti-Semitic. Like, you Jews are always trying to take money. It's like stuff like that. And, we grew up with swastikas being drawn on our, and that, and
that's so crazy.
Yeah, and so men grow up with constant fear of, and if you're not as big as the other guy, then you're in the same position that a woman's in. It's no different. I mean, in terms of the threat of physical violence, yes, there's a threat of sexual violence as well, but
well, that's pretty big different. Yeah,
well,
that's different. It depends
hang on now. I mean,
that's different, bro.
Wait a second.
Different pains, but
it is different. It is different. But physical violence is one of the things that women speak about as well. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about domestic violence, it's like. Plus, my dad he got domestic violence his ass. So that exists in both things. But anyway, back to.
I love my grandma.
Yeah.
And shout out to you, Grams.
Grams couldn't watch us. Sorry for cursing, Grandma.
Maybe. But she grew up in the 30s, bro. So, she was in Alabama. So, she would tell me about when, the racism she went through.
Wow.
So, you know what I'm saying?
That's like a whole different level of
big facts.
Dehumanizing.
Right. She's still here now and so experiencing all new technology. She's been here before technology. So have we, but she's experienced it from a younger age. It's just so crazy what she's been through. And she's still
That's
here.
Good that you're interested and you've talked to her.
Me and my grandma are very close.
That's really good.
Yeah, she's like the things you're saying because of the experiences you went through. She's had many surgeries and lives by herself. She lost both of her 2 dogs and 1 cat. And then all the people that she grew up or had relations with are dead. And she's just living, and she'll call me and just be like, Zane, I love you. Be happy, be safe, you know? Just very simple, things that are very hard to say, but you want to say, but because you're nervous of, just these words are just so powerful. It's just not something that you really express that true feeling. She just says it like it's.
Why do you think she does that?
Because she's ready to go. She's lost so many people that she's, been around. She's the last one.
Is she ready to go?
Yeah, at any time.
No, I mean, is she ready to go?
Yeah, at any time.
Is she religious?
Yeah.
That's an interesting subject, too. I mean, we live in a totally dysfunctional, our society has lost so much wisdom. Our civilization's lost so much, if we ever had it, I mean, of course, people always felt in fear of death and stuff like that, but you got to believe that there have been I mean, that we do not live in a very supportive, organic society anymore. You know, it's like where you know the name of the baker and his kids' names. You know, like because he's the guy who grinds your fucking flour and gives you bread that you exist on, right? And because he gives you bread, you give him candles. You know, and like
that's crazy.
So the interdependentness of humanity is right there in front of you, but it's been replaced with wage slaves and money, which is completely fungible in order to be, fungible means? Can be used anywhere. Yeah. It's not the same anywhere.
Great word. Fungible.
Yeah. And then they do, they figure out ways to like get families to like, they encourage us like to want to be off on our own and buy our own refrigerators and TVs and stuff. After the war, that was the big thing that happened with that generation, that went through the war. That's when the middle class grew in America. It was after the war. And basically America was the last country that had anything left. And so after the war, all of those companies that had been building war munitions and stuff like that start building, General Electric and stuff like that. And now the GI Bill of Rights, millions of GIs who were, blue collar, and these were the people that moved to Long Island, by the way, where I grew up. All those Goombas.
Goomba.
Yeah.
Goomba, fungible.
Yeah, because they moved out to Island. There was no one living there. Fungible. Dow Blau. And so they buy these little, unless you're black. This was for mostly the white people. The black people went to Wyandanch.
Wine what?
Wyandanch.
Wyandanch?
That's Wyandanch. I remember it was a suburb out there. But I remember, oh God, I grew up in such a racist place. I mean, it's like black people were the only people that we could like possibly, were worse off than us. Like we couldn't date anyone, like people wouldn't let my brothers like date their daughters because we were Jewish.
Oh my God,
but the black people, they lived in Wyandanch or something.
Wyandanch. That's a wild name.
I don't know if it's still that way. And now, things have probably changed a lot, but I don't remember what I was saying. But,
I love the Bronx Tale. Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
All these old.
Sure, they loved it too.
Movies in the Brooklyn and like Brooklyn, New York, or Queens, or the Bronx. 80s movies, 90s movies.
Oh yeah, no, I remember what I was talking about. So I was talking about how they got everybody to like buy their own little shit, and they got people to separate into different homes, and so they broke up extended communities, extended families, and everybody got separated, and things have just accelerated so badly. Like people have been probably so messed up and traumatized during these Corona days, don't you think? Like, because we're sitting here talking about, I'm talking about molecules and heat and connectivity, right? As the only, being involved in the world is the only way to be, and yet Corona did this terrible, terrible thing. It struck us at like the most, the thing that makes you a human being, really. It would be like, you imagine like you're watching a group of chimpanzees, chimpanzees are a social animal, and this is how they groom each other, right? Bam, a disease hits them. Suddenly these chimpanzees, they can't get within, what is it? You got a little thing between them, like little trees. Like every other tree, you got like plastic barriers between the trees, Yeah, so suddenly this group of chimpanzees, they got the corona, they got the COVID, and they got plastic barriers between them, and they're trying to groom each other's asses between the plastic things, and they still go up there.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
That's so true.
They're still doing it because that's the only thing they know how to do, and they know that there's a plastic barrier there, but they still do it because they're showing the feelings, right? Brother, I'm still grooming you, you know. And well, we used Zoom, you know, right?
That's so crazy.
So yeah, I think, and I think human beings have a death wish now too. I think I think people are so unconsciously freaked out about the environment because like we watched this thing for the last, you know, I'm 57 now, so for people my age, it's like we've been watching this. Oh, the sun feels a little hotter this year. It's been a lot of years. We used to on Long Island, man, on the beach. We used to lay out there. We would put baby oil. That was what you did then. Baby oil on yourself. You know what that does?
Makes you darker.
Yeah, well, because it burns you really quick because it reflects on there. You know. Look how pale I am, man. But yeah, baby oil. Because the sun wasn't like anything like what the sun is now. I'm telling you. There's no way, man. I used to lay out. Look how white I am, man. But I used to lay out on my, my house roof, you know, and like, just for hours, soaking it up. And it's not like that now. 15 minutes, bam. So people freaked out about the environment too, and scientists expect we only have 30 years. Scientists expect we only have 20 years. Scientists think the tipping point is in 10 years, 5 years, 4, and we're up there now. And it's like, now people are talking about undoing the damage. And people, and Biden's talking about getting extra money to build infrastructure to deal with the climate changing. They're not talking about fixing it anymore. So people know what time it is unconsciously. There's part of us that like, probably, you know. So I think people are freaking out big time, and it's causing people to act insane. Fortunately, Japan's fairly insulated from, big news like that. But America, man, they talk about that shit like it's just to get ratings. Japan, the news, they try to pacify you. They tell you like, story about like a kitten was saved in Shibuya today. Meow, meow, meow. Now have like 10 minutes, right? And people are like, oh, the little kitten. His name is Chan Chan. Oh, Chan Chan. Hashtag Chan Chan. It's like, believe me, it's a much less stressful place to live than America, where they'll be like, scientists now say that the plague of locusts, frogs are falling from the sky.
Stop, bro. Come on.
And that's what America's like, man. And so people in America just going crazy. Full on psycho.
You are a crazy guy, bro.
And I apologize for any offense to my American audience.
You will have some hate comments, but we're ready for those.
So anyway, I think we're gonna what? What do you call it when you sign out? Sign off?
We're gonna just be present.
A moment of presence.
In Jeremy's nice abode.
Yeah, we're gonna sign out and just chill.
How was the first episode of Dial Blau, bro?
I can't imagine what the 4 viewers that are
members of my making it for.
No.
Okay.
I think that I have, it's like lately, man, I've been like, do I have value to the world, I read Viktor Frankl, who was this guy, psychologist, survived the Holocaust, whole family wiped out in Auschwitz for years. He comes out, unlike the other Jews who were like, I ain't going back to Germany. He goes back to Germany, and 6 months later, he's giving a series of lectures that are now enshrined in a book called Say Yes to Life, in which he it's a series of lectures. He was talking about the value of life, and it's like, my therapist is like, you should read that, so I read that, and that's what a lot of people, I guess that's the Abyss book, because that's what, a lot of people get told to read, like, first thing. So I will turn that recommendation around, and if you're wondering what your value in life is when you've lost everything, and you're feeling like saying no to life, then, well, read the book Say Yes to Life. It's not really a book, it's a short thing.
Well, you'll have to tune in to Dial Blau too to get more of this wisdom, my G.
Yeah, I hope it's wisdom, and, the reason I'm doing it is...
Wisdom.
The reason I'm doing this is because I also noticed lately that I was feeling like I didn't have a feeling of value, you know, and so I read this book, and you know, he points out rightly that you know, you have value to other people, and you know, I know intellectually that I do, you know, my kids and my friends. So I never got suicidal as such, but you know, for people who are, for sure, that's something to think about. Is that your internal perceptions and people help. For example, your grandma, even if she was, he gives this example in the book, even if she's 100 years old, she's zonked out, you know, right? She can't do anything. And she may not even be aware of anything. Does she have value? And he points out, yeah, she does, because she's got value to other people, right? Which, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot, maybe, you know, for you out there who don't have any feelings like that. But if you're on the edge and you're looking for, you know, scraps to hang on to, you know, I recommend that as a good starting place. And then you can build from there, you know, because it's all phantoms of the brain anyway, you know. But the real wisdom, you're going to have to tune in next episode. Maybe next week if I can be structured.
Maybe in the next 3 minutes.
It could, that's right, it could be, but we're going to sign off now. So,
wow.
Peace.